Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm Hawa Ahmad Rufai. The title of my paper is Sheikh Gumi and the Reform of Women's Rights in Islam, a jurisprudential analysis. Let me start with the abstract. This study examines Sheikh Abubakar Gumi and the reform of women's rights in Islam, focusing on his view on politics, domestic roles, Hajj, women's education, modesty, and inheritance rights. The research, as significant as it highlights Sheikh Gumi's pioneering reformist contribution towards redefining women's rights within an Islamic framework in Nigeria, bridging traditional teachings with contemporary realities to promote women's participation in social, political, and educational space while preserving Islamic values, modesty, and family stability. Despite his profound influence in Islam reform and Izala movement, there exists a gap. Scholarly work that systematically analyzes his comprehensive views on women's rights across these domains. The main objectives of this study is to explore and analyze Sheikh Gumi's reformists advocating and fatwas related to women, political participation, the domestic responsibilities, Hajj, and modesty, and to assess their relevance to contemporary Muslim women's lives. The study adopts quality approach using content analysis of Sheikh Gumi's fatwa, Izala publication, and related scholarly sources. The findings reveal that Sheikh Gumi was the first Nigerian scholar to advocate for women political participation as a civic and religious duty, discourage heavy domestic labor for women in favor of compassion and cooperation in marriage, and allowed women to perform their first Hajj without spousal permission under safe condition. He also emphasized both Islamic and Western education for women as essential moral upbringing and community development, and introduced the hijab through the Izala reform as a symbol of dignity, modesty, and moral discipline. The study concludes that Sheikh Gumi reformist ideology provides a practical model for harmonizing Islamic principles within modern social challenges, offering enduring implications for women empowerment, education, and participation in governance while preserving Islamic ethics and moral integrity in Nigerian society. So let me go straight to the Sheikh Gumi's view on women participation in politics. Politics captured attention of many Muslim scholars in the 20th century. Nigeria, especially democracy began to shape the nation's social and political lives. Among these scholars, Sheikh Abubakar Gumi stood out as a leading reformist who emphasized honesty and integrity in governance, although deeply concerned with the political unity of Muslims. Sheikh Gumi himself never joined political party nor authored works on political matters. He once said, "I cannot do politics, but I can help in choosing a good politician who is fit for leadership." So Sheikh Gumi have mentioned two phrases as siyasa tafi muhimmanci da sallah and siyasa tafi hajj musulunci, but it not literally means that participation in politics is more important than this, because he is just trying to show how participation in politics is important for women. That's why he advocates for the husband to allow their wives to go out and cast votes during that period. The next thing is Sheikh Gumi's view on women domestic work. Sheikh Gumi was really concerned about husband kindness to his wife, where he was of the view that women should not be given hard labor like cooking, washing, grinding, and fetching water in their matrimonial homes, because there are some tasks that are beyond women's strength. He also of the view that originally there is no requirement for women to cook unless stipulated in condition. Otherwise, the husband provides. However, if a condition was met during engagement by woman herself or her parents that she will not cook or do heavy labor, then she cannot be forced to do it. Also, in our current context, it is mandatory because it has become custom. That's al-ada, that when a marriage is contracted, it is assumed it is based on the condition that she will cook. So the above fatwa of Sheikh Gumi clearly shows that there is no any provision in the Sharia that said a woman should cook for her husband. But if you consider our custom, the husband will provide the raw food and the wife will cook, and it does not contradict Sharia ruling. And if you compare the time we were now with the time Sheikh gives this fatwa, they are different, because we are in a technological era where a woman can do all these tasks within a short period of a time without much stress. Women should take note that taking care of her family with love and care is better for her because it builds strong connection between her and her family, as the Prophet ordered his beloved daughter Fatima radiallahu anha when she sought a servant instead to do some supplication, as stated in the following hadith. So I'm not going to read the hadith in order to save time. Then Sheikh Gumi's view on women rights in Hajj. According to Sheikh Abubakar Gumi in his fatwa, women's rights, he was of the view that a married woman can go for her first Hajj even without her husband's permission, if there is a trustworthy group of men, women, or both. So this view of Sheikh, he shows the importance of obligatory action, because even performing Hajj is among the pillars of Islam, like we perform our obligatory prayers, our 5 daily prayers. So a husband cannot stop his wife from doing her obligatory action, but if it is for the second time she is allowed, he can stop her from doing it. Then Sheikh Gumi's view on women's rights on education. In February 1970, the Islamic reform movement, Jama'atul Izalatul Bid'ah wa Iqamatus Sunnah, of which Sheikh Abubakar Gumi was among the leading scholars in Kaduna, emphasized the importance of Islamic education for both girls and married women of all ages. He gave priority to the education of married adult women, known as Islamiyya Matan Aure, where they were taught the Quran and Hadith, which were critically for raising up proper children. Sheikh Gumi was not only concerned with Islamic education, but he also supported women's Western education, holding the view that a newly married wife can stay in her father's house after marriage to finish her Western education, Makarantan Boko, and the marriage remains valid, or she may continue while staying in her husband's house. By looking at Sheikh Abubakar Gumi's view on women education, saw the importance of education as the backbone of every family who trains the children, because a mother is the first teacher for every child. If she is not educated Islamically, what will she teach the children? So in conclusion, this study demonstrates that Sheikh Abubakar Gumi was a pioneering Islamic reformer whose scholarly legacy reflects a deliberate effort to harmonize classical Islamic jurisprudence with the socio-political realities of 20th century northern Nigeria, particularly in matters concerning women. Through his biography, education, career, and extensive writings, Sheikh Gumi emerged as a scholar deeply rooted in traditional Islamic learning, yet responsive to modern governance and social challenges. His view on women's participation in politics revealed a maqasid-oriented understanding of Sharia, wherein political engagement, especially voting, was emphasized as a means of safeguarding religious justice and public welfare, rather than as a literal prioritization over acts of worship such as Salah or Hajj. Similarly, his position on women's domestic responsibilities underscores compassion contractual consent and customary consideration, rejecting the notion that household labor as an absolute religious obligation upon women. His fatwa on women's right to education, both Islamic and Western, affirm his recognition of women as a moral and intellectual foundation of the family and society, while his advocacy for women's access to obligatory Hajj highlights supremacy of divine commands over spousal authority in matters of compulsory worship. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, about 3 papers that are well presented. Now it's my privilege to invite our discussant, the person of Dr. Sheikh. The discussion is not going to take time. On the floor. Starting from the first presentation, in the order they were presented.
Okay, sir. What else? Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد